Welcome, 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 welcome. We're going to slowly get started here. Hopefully, people will start trickling in, but we know that there's going to be a small group for this beta test, and we're really hoping that each and every one of you is really excited to go through the effort of printing this thing out, making the decks, and being part of the community that helps shape what the end result of this CCG is going to be. I do want to introduce everybody on stage. And so I'd like to go around, I guess, clockwise in my direction. I don't know what direction you're looking at, but we're going to go ahead and just make some small introductions. So, Ramal, you're in the Discord quite a bit. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll go Cooper, Ryder, I can't see Brian, and if Frenchie wants to say anything, he can introduce himself. Infinite we all know very well, but you could say something if you'd like to, and we'll get kicked off that way as people begin to trickle in.
Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm Mel Smith, and I'm a piece art. So I'm the writer and lore guy. A lot of the art. Break this game as
Ramal's breaking up really bad for me. Is he breaking up for others too? Or is that
He is, yeah, Ramal, he is.
Yeah.
So why don't we, Ramal, why don't you test your connection real quick, and Cooper, you're off mic. People know you, but you want to talk a little bit about or introduce to anyone who maybe doesn't or isn't.
Yeah, for anyone that's not familiar with me, my name's Cooper. I'm involved in a lot of things, including HTH, block packs, and wonders, bantams, everything I have a little bit of a hand in. So yeah, I'm super, super excited to be here today, and played a little bit of the beta testing myself, and it's really, really fun. I'm really excited to see how the community responds to it. So really excited.
Ramal, give it a shot. How do you sound?
I don't know. How's it sound?
Much better.
Much better.
Excellent. Well, as I was saying, I am a artist on this project, and I do a bunch of the lore, and I am routinely the guy that is breaking things.
That's a fact. Awesome. Thanks, Ramal. You heard, bear in mind, y'all know him, y'all love him for his Umbra theme. Bear, why don't you need no introduction, but go ahead and introduce yourself for those who don't know.
Absolutely. Guys, as always, it is a pleasure to be here. I hope you're all doing well on this glorious Friday night. I was going to say Saturday morning because it is Saturday morning for me. But just wishing you all a great Friday night and looking forward to kicking this off, guys. We have some exciting updates for you and lots to share. So just get ready and listen up. And I'm going to pass on to our next speaker. Thank you, Kisha.
It's the father-son duo, and no, I'm not talking about Frenchie Cooper. I'm talking about Ryder and Brian. Ryder, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then Brian, follow him up.
Hey, I'm Ryder. I do a lot of some of the art for the artwork for some of the cards, and I also work on the game design. Nice to see you all today.
And then it goes to me. I'm Icon Seed, but my name is Brian, and I'm game design lead. And super cool project to be working on. Really, really fun to build a CCG from the ground up. I have a long game design career. I've shipped over 50 products and spent 10 years in Wizards of the Coast R&D working as lead designer on Magic cards, Magic sets. So really grateful to have this group here to help us test and give us feedback and really, like, when you release a product that's at this kind of a stage to a group like this, you guys are much more than beta testers, really. Like, a beta test is a big group and this is a small group. You guys are all kind of like co-designers that we really are grateful to have.
Absolutely. And Frenchie, I don't know if you're gonna jump in or say anything. Everyone knows you, so there is no introduction really needed, but I'll offer the space.
The one thing that I would just say to this is I'm excited to kind of be here and follow along. I really wasn't even going to get on stage, and you guys pulled me up, which is fine. But I don't think I don't think you guys did a really good job in those introductions of kind of explaining your chops when it comes to these games. Like what one thing I would say is that I'm really excited about the Brian and his years of experience and what he brings to the table as the lead game designer for this. But these other guys that are up here, they all know their stuff on these things as well. And so they didn't really talk about that, but this team has really impressed me as far as the depth of understanding of all the different mechanics in the games and that sort of thing. And then also, they play the games competitively. Several of them ranked fairly high in that type of stuff, which is, I think really adds a lot with, that experience that Brian brings to the table. So although they didn't really talk about that, they know their way around CCGs.
Thank you for that. Yeah, that's very good. We're definitely a humble team, but don't let that fool you. We have decades of experience, if not more. I don't know, maybe a century of TCG experience up on the stage. Could be. So what I want to do, as you know, and if you're in the audience, you're obviously a holder of either the character proofs for Wonders of the First, or you're a holder of the Collector Booster Box NFT. And first of all, want to thank you and congratulate you for being a part of this journey and being a holder in this community and in this ecosystem. The team behind this universe and this project and this franchise are absolutely stoked to be able to unveil not only this, but the future of the Wonders of the First universe and all the things we have cooking. But again, this is the first iteration of many in the franchise. And I'm going to put Icon Seed, aka Brian Tinsman, on the spot. And Brian, maybe you can give a little bit of an overview from how the game got started to where we are now. Maybe a little look forward of what's to come. And then we'll work to get the video set up that shows a little bit of the gameplay or overview walkthrough that we've been working on, with the full video tutorial to be uploaded tomorrow for those of you as well. But we'll also have this event recorded here, both visual and audio. So that will come and you'll be able to rewatch this or send it out for anyone who's missed that. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Brian, and then we will go ahead and work on getting the video set up to walk through that. So Brian, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Kish. I'll talk briefly about the background of the game design parts of this, and then I'll walk through the rules document. I know that the most important thing from this meeting is that everybody gets a clear picture of how to play, so we can get playtesting going. And it's pretty difficult to learn a new game just by reading rules. So, my hope is that we can explain a little more, and then in the future we'll have some sample games for everyone to watch, and that will clarify some other questions. But we have a design here where it's every game goes through 7 turns, and that makes it sort of a predictable sequence, which is kind of nice to have in a tabletop game, right? You think about things, games like Hearthstone. It's very highly tuned so that games will always wrap up in 10 or 12 minutes. And that actually is a benefit, because you kind of know how much time you have, and whether you can start another game, and you can have a lot of short games, as opposed to who knows if this will take 30 minutes or an hour with like a big Magic Commander game or something like that. So we've got this kind of the actions of the turns are on rails, and the idea of the game, if you haven't read the rules already, is that we have 7 zones, and each zone has a stone that's a victory point in the middle of it. And on turn 1, we can play forms, the fighting units, and enhance them, and we can attack, and we battle over that zone 1. And then on turn 2, we can play units in zone 1 or 2, and then turn 3, 1, 2, or 3. And so slowly the zones open up, and you kind of get this strategic complexity that builds step by step over the course of 7 turns. That's really nice. And we got this originally. It came from Frenchie, who had worked on a similar type of game system over many years, and it was one of the candidates that we kind of went through when we were developing the gameplay system. You know, that's kind of like the earliest, most important thing that you got to nail down. You kind of have system design and set design, right? The system design is what are the steps of the turn? What can you do? How do you win, right? And then the set design is like, what are all the card abilities? And you kind of want to go right to the card abilities, but you can't even touch that until you get the system design nailed down. So we went through a number of different gameplay systems, and the one that we felt was really working well and had a lot of design space, a lot of interesting pieces, was this 7 battlefield, seven zones system. And it when we're putting together something like this, you want to find a balance between something that is new and fresh and doesn't feel like, you know, same old game that people have seen them many times before. But then if it's too different, people are disoriented, right? They want something familiar that makes it easy to play. Oh yes, I understand. My creatures, you know, attack the enemy and somebody wins the battle, right? So we ended up with this system that I think has a really nice place between those kind of competing needs. So let's, oh, there's a video of me talking.
So we do have a little bit of a video. It's Bear is going to go ahead and stream it. It is what will be uploaded as the final video tutorial, but it's not quite finalized yet, but I think it's going to be a good place to walk through and give everyone an overview of what's to come. So Bear, if you want to go ahead and share your screen. Brian, I'll let you kind of narrate or meta narrate yourself through the video. And if you want to pause it, just make a noise and Bear will pause it and you can explain something further. For everyone in the audience, as we walk through this, please post your questions in the amphitheater chat and we'll make sure to get around to those. But with that in mind, Bear in mind, let's go ahead and hit play.
Excellent.
Is there a way? Is there a way, guy? Is this going to blow up to a bigger size, or is it because, like, right now for me, it's in this little tiny box?
If you click on the stream, it will get bigger.
Okay, so Bear, if I say pause it, you're
make a
able to pause
noise
it,
and I will pause, and you can provide further context. This video today is an overview, and for actual game scenarios, we will have further content coming out over the next couple of days. Just let me know if you can hear the audio here.
Hi, my name is Brian. I'm really glad to have you.
Does that work?
Sounds good. I can hear it.
Great.
Hope everyone else can.
Hi, my name is Brian. I'm really glad to have you on the team for the print and play beta test of Wonders of the First. You are the first players from outside the company to play this game. I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on how to play, and then you can use the rules document as a reference. And you can always ask rules questions in Discord. First, you should have access to the playtest card sheets. The idea is to print them, cut them out, and then I like to put them in card sleeves with some kind of card behind them, so they're easy to shuffle. Each deck is 50 cards, and for most cards there's a maximum of 2 copies of each card allowed in a deck. The exceptions are legendaries, which are limited to 1 copy of each, and creatures, which can have up to 3 copies of each. So, what's the goal of the game? Well, in Wonders of the First, players embark on a journey as Stone Seekers, vying to control 7 territories known as Ether Zones. These zones are the battlegrounds, where Stone Seekers clash, employing tactics and powerful magic. Each battle allows players to claim a formless shard known as a stone, and the ultimate goal is to amass the majority of these stones by the end of the 7th round. The player who succeeds in securing the most zones will be crowned the victor, bringing them ultimate power or perhaps annihilation. So in other words, at the end of 7 turns, whoever has the most stones wins the game. Let's look at the zones. On the first turn, we can only play cards and attack in Zone 1. On the second turn, we can play cards and attack in Zones 1 and 2. So the strategic options expand as a new zone opens up every turn. By turn 7, you can play and attack anywhere on the board. So how are we going to attack? Using forms. Forms are the fighting units of the game. Forms include creatures, primary forms, and legendary forms. You can easily identify them because they have a power stat in the corner. So we're going to play these into the zones and use them to attack. When you decide to attack, you add up the power of all your forms in that zone and compare it to the power of the enemy forms opposite. If yours is higher, you win and you get the stone. But if they increase their power and they attack in that zone later, they can take the stone away from you. So how do we play cards? On each of your turns, you get some formless energy called FE. It's similar to mana. On turn 1, you get 1 FE. Turn 2, you get 2 FE. Up to 7 FE on turn 7. To play a card from your hand, you have to spend FE equal to its cost. The cost is right here. And every time I play a card, I use 1 action. Then the other player gets to use an action, then I get to use an action, and we alternate like this, back and forth, until we've both used 3 actions. And at that point, the turn is over, and we go to the next turn.
Can we pause here for a minute, Bear?
But there's actually 2. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so just wanted to reinforce a couple of key pieces that because we went by pretty fast. So in the diagram of the 7 turns, we have battles that take place within these zones, and a piece that's not illustrated in the diagram is that each zone has a stone on it. So when you win, you pull the stone over to your side. And so it's easy to look at all of the active zones and see, okay, you've got 2 stones, I've got 3, I'm ahead right now. And then, the last 2 zones are going to determine the winner of the game. But you can go back later and if it's turn 5, you can still attack zone 2. And if you were losing there, you play more cards in that spot, you can attack that spot again and take that zone back. So there is a strategic choice about, okay, not only do I have to kind of plan how to win the next few battles that are coming up, but also how do I defend and make sure my current stones are not taken from me. So there's a lot of deck building strategy around, do you want to be more aggressive? Do you want to be more defensive? Do you want to, move your pieces around so they can have, multiple battles per turn? So that's one part of it that I wanted to make sure was clear. Another part is talking about actions. And so we have 2 resources happening at the same time. And what's happening is we have the FE, that's like kind of analogous to mana or magic energy, right? And that is used to pay the costs on the cards. Do we have, Bear, can you try to jump back to the diagram that shows the layout of the card?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right there. Okay. So we've got the cost in on the left side. And so that's going to be the FE cost, the energy cost. And then up on the right, in the upper right corner, the power that is the strength in battle. Who wins and loses when they fight. So we talked about two resources. One of them is the FE cost that's written on the card, but the other one is the actions cost. And the rule is each player gets 3 actions on a turn. And you can use an action to play a card from your hand onto the board in any zone that's been opened up, any active zone. You can also use an action to make an attack anywhere that's an open zone. And you can also use it to draw a card. So that's kind of like the key decision-making part of a turn is how am I going to spend my actions? And the thing that makes it really interesting is you're limited to 3 actions per turn, although many cards can give you extra actions or extra FE. But you're not limited to only one of those choices per turn. If you wanted to, you could spend all 3 of your actions attack, attack, attack in different zones. Or if you don't have anything that you want to play from your hand, you could just go draw, draw. Oh, I found something I like. Play for my 3rd action. So that's the piece that kind of makes a lot of strategic choice available and a lot of interesting card design space available.
Brian, is the draw an action, or when you draw, you can instantly play that card? That's still your action at that point.
So drawing a card is an action, and playing a card is an action. So you would use 2 actions: one to draw, one to play.
Got it.
Okay. Let's jump back to around where we were before. Card from your hand is an action, but you can also use an action to attack, or you can use an action to draw a card from your deck. And you can do any of these things in any order or combination. For example, you could attack, then draw a card, and then attack again in a different zone. That would use up your 3 actions for the turn. So we already talked about forms. Let's talk about some other card types, which are also called hierarchies. They're lands, weapons, and spells. Lands help you play more cards, weapons equip onto forms and enhance them, and spells have a one-time effect and then drop to the boneyard. So let's start a game. To start the game, we flip a coin to see who plays first. Then we shuffle and draw 7 cards. You can choose up to 3 cards you want to get rid of and put them on the bottom of your deck. Then draw the same number. And this lets you improve your hand before you start. That's all I have for now. I hope this quick tutorial gave you a good overview to help you get started on the rules. Please ask more questions in the Discord. I hope you have fun playing, and if you do successfully seize all the stones, I wish you ultimate power and not annihilation. Okay, so high-level overview of the rules. And so there's quite a few additional questions that are going to come out as this team digs into the card set and all the abilities on there. And one piece that I'd like to talk about is the different types of abilities. So let me see if I can pull up the rules document. And
If you're tonight, you might need to allow him to share the screen for icon.
No, he has the ability.
Okay.
And while Brian pulls that up, just so everyone is aware, we will have that video that you saw. It's going to be getting finalized. Have a little bit of the animations that you saw as the end of the video completes, and that'll be posted. In the meantime, we are recording this, like I said, and that'll also be available so you can walk through the video and Brian's little explanations as well. And always, you can ask questions in Discord. And if you have a question now, use the amphitheater chat in the right-hand side of your screen. And we will go ahead and make sure we can answer those live and in person. Brian, back to you.
Thanks. Let me make sure my mic is still on. It is. Okay. I wanted to talk about, so in the rules Git book that we have here, we've got basic game terms and we've got ability terms. And so this is something that I want to clarify because it's not necessarily intuitive if you've played other CCGs, but it's pretty easy to clarify. So most of the forms in the game, right? These are the fighting units, have an ability with like a flavor name and then an ability type. And these types tell you when they trigger or when they occur. So if it says action activated ability, that means it's something that you choose when to use it. You can activate it and you have to use an action to activate it. So that means these are pretty big abilities. And in Wonders, when you tap something, there's no untap step. So all of these action activated abilities are pretty much one use per game. Although, of course, there are some cards that say untap your other cards, and you can use that to get multiple activations. But just based on the game rules, if something's action activated, you spend an action to tap it, turn it sideways, and get a big effect. Okay. Constant is another ability term that we use for when an ability is always active. So this would be like all your merfolk get +2 at all times. You've got free activated abilities. So that works the same as action activated abilities. And you do it anytime that you could play an action on your turn, but it does not consume an action. And then a few others, on arrival, that happens whenever it goes into a zone from anywhere, on attack, on battle. So these things trigger when they're fighting, on defense, on play, and then OT4 would be on turn 4. So some effects happen automatically on a certain turn. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys had clarity on how those things work, because that's one of the items that may not immediately be intuitive when you start reading through the cards. But it helps clarify the timing of when things happen. And in our turn structure, I would get an action, resolve all the effects, and then my opponent gets an action, resolve all the effects from that. And so we have a nice kind of clean back and forth. There's no concept of holding resolution of effects. But you still get a nice back and forth to be able to respond to what the other player does. So that is the piece that I wanted to make sure was clarified. I'm happy to have other questions about the rules document if you guys would like to discuss.
Yeah, and if you want to raise your hand, or now is the time to post. I haven't seen any questions, although I'm trying to post the feedback form, and so Infinite, maybe you can give me permission to do that. But if not, it's also in the Great Hall announcement, a reminder that this is a two-way street. So we have a feedback form to fill out, the link to which is in the Great Hall announcement. And we need and want and support your critiques, both good and bad. It's all in forwarding the next stage of this game. So as of today, this is the rule set, and these are the cards as where it sits today. But everything again is subject to change, and likely will change before the final set is released and out to the public. With that said, anybody raise your hand if anybody has something in the chat, although I don't see anything. If anybody on stage wants to add something, also please feel free.
Yeah, I should mention this is absolutely a great time to mention that truly the best way to learn is to play. Frenchie did mention earlier that a number of us have experience in TCG and CCG in the past, and especially I'll speak for myself in saying that I've played a CCG to the standard of top 2% in Europe for the last 4 seasons now. And I've found that absolutely when testing the newest mechanics, there is an inordinate amount of reading that one could do, but truly the best way to get familiar is to sit down, print them out, and play. And I believe that will truly give you some insight into, well, frankly, how much fun we've been having testing this too. And looking forward to sharing that with you guys as well.
I could talk a little bit about the playtest decks themselves too. We've got 2 decks here that are pre-built, and they're kind of designed to showcase some of the interesting, fun action that can happen when you have this kind of broad board to decide where you're going to attack, where you're going to defend. The first deck is called Hit the Deck, and it has kind of like a theme of crazy mercenaries and air forces. And the main mechanic that's showcased in there is a manifest mechanic. And just to save you a little bit of reading and puzzling, the idea of the manifest mechanic is to reveal a certain number of cards from the top of your deck, and then if you hit what you were looking for, it jumps into the current turn zone for free. So, for example, you might have a card that says manifest 3 a goblin. So in that case, you would start revealing cards from the top of your deck and show them to both players. Is it a goblin? No. And keep going until you do hit a goblin, and then stop either when you hit a goblin or when you have revealed 3 cards. Revealed cards go on the bottom of the deck, and the card, such as the goblin, goes right into the zone. And you can even attack with it the same turn. And so when you build a deck around this, of course, you start to try to get cards that will keep a little chain going. So, I'm going to try to manifest a creature that has cost 2 or less. And then when I hit one, it might have the ability that says, when this is manifested, do it again, right? And so you get to have this kind of sense of like the swarm of these little guys is taking over the board, so if you're lucky. So that mechanic is kind of unpredictable, right? Like sometimes you might get a lot of misses, and sometimes you might get a lot of hits and just have an overwhelming advantage. So that kind of shows what it's like to have a more chaotic, unpredictable game. The other deck is crazy monkeys with blasters, and it's showcasing Petraea and Heliosynth. Petraea having forces of nature, and one of the factions that we've been having a lot of fun with there, or one of the types, is a primate deck, and Heliosynth, of course, has a lot of technology, and so they're able to provide the weapons there. So that deck has quite a few primates and other Petraea cards that start off small, but then they get bigger if you spend more resources on them towards the late game. Also, heliosynth cards that get bigger and stronger when they get armed. So you equip them with some weapons and they get an extra bonus. And so you can get some really huge power behind those forms that are in that deck, right? You have a couple of weapons that do things like double this form's power. And so there's a little bit of a strategic decision there to say, well, I've got a 3 power guy. Do I want to play a weapon on him to double his power early and potentially have several, attacks with him? Or do I want to hold it back for when I drop a 7 power guy and make him into a 14? But that's going to be in the last few turns of the game, and I might only get to use him once. So that's another kind of strategic choice with that deck. So hopefully it gives a taste of what you can do with Foulwind and Sulfera and Petraea and Heliosynth working together. And then, of course, we have the sets built out for Umberthane and Boundless, but we don't have pre-built decks for you guys for those yet.
Yeah, we wanted to onboard you all slowly, steadily, and so we figured giving you a very constrained canvas to begin, learn the rules, and then not get too crazy. And as we continue to expand beta playtesting, we'll expand both in the types of abilities and rules that you see, as well as in some of the pre-constructed decks that we release. Also in the future, hopefully we'll have a digital version via an untapped.in beta test version. So look for something along those lines to be coming, hopefully, so we can be beta testing in a kind of digital environment. But the game will be tabletop, so don't get that confused in any capacity. I'm looking through. Do we have any? Everyone doesn't have the exact same deck. Yeah, Eric, we will have more decks coming, as I mentioned. So with that, Weasel, I notice you're on stage. Thanks for being patient. What question do you have for anyone on the team?
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. I was just curious if you could, let us know the difference between a zone, an orbital, and then land. Are zones and orbitals the same thing? Because I know that it says, if you don't have a land of the same orbital, each card costs an extra action. So I was just kind of curious, in other games, land was kind of like your mana, but in this game, it kind of works like Hearthstone, where every round you kind of get extra energy. So I was just curious as to how a zone, an orbital, and a land all kind of work together.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad to clarify that. So the zones are the locations on the board that each contain a stone that we battle over. So anytime a battle happens, it happens between only the forms that are in that zone. My guy's in zone 3 versus your guy's in zone 3. Orbitals aren't really used as locations here. They're more akin to like Pokemon types or the colors of magic. In that, the cards are themed around them. There's 60 Petraea cards, 60 Umberthane cards, and they all kind of follow like a mechanical identity, a mechanical theme. Land cards in this game help you play cards more easily. You play a land from your hand, draw it from your deck into your hand, then play it from your hand onto the board in a zone. And just having one Petraea card makes it so that you're more easily able to play all Petraea cards. If you play a second Petraea card, it's not going to give you any built-in advantage, although most of the lands do have like some extra ability, like buff all your primates or something like that.
But land, is that right, Ryan?
Yeah.
Just
Did I misspeak?
You just said Patria card, and so
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
going to clarify having a Patria land. So it is of a benefit to have the same lands as the types and the forms you're playing.
Yeah. So, however, the benefit of having multiple lands is that you can harvest them. You can destroy them anytime on your turn to gain one extra FE energy or one extra action. So there's a deck type that is going to want to play a lot of lands and then harvest them all at the in the last few turns and get a whole bunch of extra card draw or a whole bunch of extra attacks or something like that. So we also have this rule where if you don't have a Patria land, but you have Patria cards and you really want to play it, you can still play that Patria card, but it just takes 2 actions instead of 1. So you won't get utterly hosed if you don't draw the lands that you need.
Awesome. Thanks for the explanation.
Thank you for the great question, Weasel. Any other questions out there? Anything else? Anybody have trouble getting started? Anybody need help getting started? Or anything else in the ecosystem? Otherwise, I will open it back up to anyone on stage to make some comments. Ramal, I see you've come off of mute, so why don't you take it away? In the meantime, raise your hand or post in the chat, and we'll get your question answered.
I was just gonna say, the orbital, you can find it on the card on the right hand side above the type. So it'll say Patria or Heliosynth on the forms, the spells, as well as the lands.
Yeah. And that's a good point, Ramal. Thanks for bringing it up. For anyone listening still, who's still tuned in, the card design that you see in the print and play is similar in hierarchy and layout to what how the information will be laid out on the final cards, at least at this time. So in your feedback form, if you have any insight, critiques, feedback, anything about the card layout itself. Obviously, the art isn't on there or any of the colors, but if there's anything that you think would be useful in laying out the card design itself, please, that is also up for iteration as beta testers and playtesting continues. So use that feedback form. I don't see any other questions. I don't see any hands in the air. So it sounds like we've done a pretty good job up here. Great job, team. Anybody have anything as perhaps we begin to close it down? Our team will be in Discord in the Great Hall. We'll be around to answer questions.
Oh, yeah.
Like I mentioned. Yeah, go ahead, Bear.
Oh, that was it. I was merely affirming your sentiment with a oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We need a
Oh, yeah.
soundboard up here. So the team will be in Discord. We will have this video from the town hall with Brian's explanation, as well as that full video that he was showing, posted over the next couple of days. So watch out for those when you need to scrub back through. But in the meantime, the rules are posted for GitHub in the Great Hall announcement. And again, the team will be around. So anyone else, any final remarks?
Yeah, I just it's kind of funny that the game would be easier to playtest if we made the text bigger and it didn't have that big empty space in the center of the card. But you guys are getting the authentic playtest version that we used internally because we're leaving room as the art is placed on the cards. We're trying to use something that's close to the card face layout that we want. So we appreciate you guys playing with the smaller text and the pretend art on the cards.
Yeah, one comment that I would make, I know that those of you that are in here tonight, you're probably folks that have mostly played CCGs. I saw a few faces of people that I know aren't necessarily CCG players. And I think we have a really we'll be rolling out in the months ahead, or actually weeks ahead, more about our positioning of this game and how it's going to position into the CCG market, because the CCG market is littered with failed games. I mean, it just is. And when you look at this, it's the gameplay is critically important, and I have a tremendous amount of faith in those that are building the game, that are making this mechanic come together. And then I also think that we are very uniquely positioned here with the character proof model. The distributed IP that we have for our game is something totally unique. Nobody else has it. We've already begun to show that we value the first C in CCG the way we've done the collector booster boxes with the serialization, the on-chain randomization, all those sort of things. And we're going to continue to lean into all of those different strengths. And I'm very excited to see how this comes together. And I want this to be a franchise that, yes, the player community is super important, but we're going to establish this around really nice value propositions for collectors. And those of you who, again, own a character proof but don't consider yourself a CCG player, totally fine. I think you're still going to find a lot to love in these cards and in the franchise as a whole, as Wonders of the First really begins to take shape. And I'm just super excited about that. And for those of you who, again, are not CCG players, if you roll up your sleeves and you don't let that rule book overly intimidate you, it's for those that are not CCG players, you're gonna find it, you're gonna read it, and you're gonna look at it, and you're like, it's tough. I think CCG players are gonna pick it up lot quicker. But if you do fight through and give yourself 5 legitimate games, I think everyone here can play this game and know what they're doing. If they go through five complete games, I think you'll have the hang of it. It's very playable, but we're just getting started, and there's a lot of fun stuff to come.
Absolutely. I would say on that, keep an open mind. I feel like this game so wonderfully bridges the gap between a kind of game that an experienced CCG player will understand and love, and a simple CCG. And so, by virtue of that, I look forward to hearing what you guys think.
Absolutely. Ramal, go ahead. I was going to just respond to True Blue Ninja, who posted about seeing a channel where experienced members could stream playing the game. And something I'd like to mention is hopefully over the weekend, we can get a couple of our design teams boards set up. I have mine here, and you can see what I'm using as stones too when I do that. But we'll try and get some time set up over the next week for sure to stream a couple games so that you guys can log into Discord and see it. We'll record those sessions as well. But as we move through this process, yes, we'll have opportunities so that either you can watch one of us play, or perhaps, and not promising anything here, but you might even get to challenge one of the game designers in a game virtually in Discord. So hopefully we can get that set up. But thank you for that, True Blue. We'll have something for you guys. Ramal, any last comments?
Yeah, just want to say I've played collectible card games since the early '90s. Everything from Magic to SimCity, all the way up to even Hearthstone and Flesh and Blood. So I've played pretty much, if it's been a CCG or a TCG, I've purchased packs and boxes and played them. And I'm a big fan of strategy and complexity. I'll say that this game is enjoyable for me, and it is enjoyable for people that aren't that dedicated to the world of collectible card games. So give it a chance. If you have any questions, I'm always around and would be happy to walk you through it.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. If no one else up here on stage has anything to say, we're going to go ahead and close it down and let you all begin to play test, take in the rules, and all that good stuff. So, with that, have a wonderful night and a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you out on the battlefield. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you.
Wow.